I've been asked a few times if I can do a video from start to finish on how I make Reuteri yogurt, and so the time has come to make some, and so that's what I'm doing today. Hi there, my name is Sue. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, I have been eating a carnivore / living carnivore diet now since May of 2022. And so if you've not watched any of my videos, just a really brief rundown, I came into my carnivore diet with really bad gut health. My IBS diarrhea that had been around for decades got worse when I started on the carnivore diet, and this Reuteri yogurt, alcestrally yogurt and SIBO yogurts have made a massive difference to my digestive health. So I still eat them off and on, just depending on what I'm doing, and at the moment I am going to start eating some Reuteri again, and that's what we're doing today, is making some from scratch. If you've not come across Reuteri yogurt, it is a really fantastic fermented dairy product for gut health as well as many other things. So Reuteri has so many benefits for not only gut health and SIBO and that sort of thing, but also for mood. It helps your body to release oxytocin. It helps to create more connection with other people. It makes you more likely to want to socialise and do all of those things with other people, which is really missing these days for a lot of folk. It helps with the aging process. It helps to put muscle on your body, to reduce belly fat and to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. So that's just some of the benefits. It has lots of benefits and is really well worth trying and seeing how you go. It tastes great, and it's a fantastic way to get this amazing bacteria that so many of us are actually missing apparently into our digestive systems. And this bacteria does a fantastic job at keeping other unwanted bacteria under control. So let's get started. When I started making the Reuteri yogurt originally, I was following the instructions in Dr. Davis's Super Gut book. Dr. Davis is the amazing man that has come up with these yogurts, or fermented dairies is actually what they are. And so this is his book here. I will link to that below the video if you want to check it out. It's a good read and worthwhile looking at if you think you have SIBO, and that is why you're wanting to consume these yogurts. So when I first started making his yogurt, as I said, I was following his instructions. I used the tablets that he recommends in the book, which you crush 10 tablets up and use that as a starter for the yogurt. But today I'm doing something different, and I am using the Reuteri Superfood Starter that is available from Luvele. I have a Luvele yogurt maker, which I absolutely rave about. I love that machine, and they sell these starters, which were put together by Dr. Davis and the lady who runs this company. And so this is the first time I've used the Reuteri starter from them. I have used the alcestrally, so I have used that. Great success, no problems at all. I have their easy tortilla starter, which I haven't tried yet as well. But today we're focusing on Reuteri, so I'm just going to put these other two back in the fridge. Okay, so when you buy the starter, it has 4 packets of starter in there with the cultures. It has been designed so that it can be transported without refrigeration, but then you need to refrigerate it once you get it to make sure and keep the bacteria in as good a condition as you want them to be. On the packet, it actually says to use 2 packets for 2 litres. So it says 1 packet will do 1 litre of cultured dairy. So each packet makes 1 litre of cultured dairy, but on the Luvele website, it actually says that you can use 1 packet for up to 2 litres of milk. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to use that much. Part of the reason for that is that I think it's probably correct what's on their website, and also because Reuteri tends to be a bit finicky and sometimes overreact like my first batch did here. I figured that maybe less bacteria in the first batch might be a good idea. Maybe, we'll see. Some people get amazing results with it straight away. When Dr. Davis first made it, he made it using the half and half that's commonly available in America. It's ultra pasteurized UHT milk, and I think that makes the difference as to how it reacts. Whereas like here in New Zealand and Australia, I think even in the UK, trying to get any kind of half and half is almost impossible. And we do have one here in New Zealand, but it would make very expensive yogurt, and so I'm not going to go there. I have tried making it originally using milk and cream to create the same macros, and that was okay, but I still had the failures at the beginning with the old Reuteri. So I'm hoping that using this culture might make a difference, but it doesn't always. So we will see what happens, and I'll show you at the end of this video how this actually turns out. So what I'm doing initially is I'm going to make 2 litres. So I'm being very brave with my first time making this, and so I'm hoping that it works out quite well. And so the way that I heat my milk is that I actually use a bowl. I use this bowl inside a big pot, and it works like a double boiler. If you don't have a double boiler or something you can use, just heat your milk up in a pot. It just means that you have to stand there and really watch it and watch the temperature, because it'll heat and then come to the boil more quickly, and it's more likely to boil over and potentially burn on the bottom. Whereas using a double boiler makes it a lot easier, and we don't have to keep as much of an eye on what's happening. So I just put a little bit of water in the bottom of my pot, and I'm going to put my milk in there and put it on the stove. The other reason that I really like using the double boiler kind of method is because I heat my milk up and I keep it up around 82 degrees Celsius for between 10 and 20 minutes. And the reason for doing that is that it denatures the proteins in the milk and creates a better texture and a better consistency in your yogurt. So that's something that's been done traditionally with yogurts and definitely makes a difference. It doesn't matter so much if you're using a UHT or ultra pasteurized milk, but if you're using normal pasteurized milk, or in my case I'm actually using a raw milk, then you want to get it up to temperature and keep it there. To sterilize it for a start, to make sure that there's no competing bacteria, and to denature those proteins so that hopefully your yogurt comes out a better texture. Now, apparently Luvele have tested this yogurt starter when it's made into yogurt, and it comes out at about 67.2 billion CFU, so that's colony forming units, of Reuteri bacteria per half cup serving, which is pretty good. You're not really going to find a probiotic with that sort of amount of this bacteria in it. The other reason for holding the milk at temperature for 10 to 20 minutes is it helps to hopefully stop it from separating into curds and whey, although our Reuteri tends to do that sometimes, and it helps to, as I said, to make it thicker. I have seen some people who have commented on my videos saying that they actually use gelatin in their Reuteri yogurt. That is something that I actually used to do when I used to make coconut yogurt years ago, and so it is something that I might actually try. I'll see how my Reuteri goes this time, but I may experiment and try actually adding gelatin to my yogurt just to see if it improves the texture. And as I said, it's common for it to separate into curds and whey. As I've shown you in my video of my very first batch, it can do it quite dramatically at times, and because I have a lot of people asking questions about this under my videos, and what I actually recommend to people is that they don't start again with new culture. So if your batch separates really badly, make another batch using some of the whey from that first batch, and then if that one still doesn't work, make the next batch using the whey from that second batch, because it seems that the Reuteri sometimes just takes a little bit of time to get used to the milk. It's not a bacteria that's used to consuming milk, and so I think that's why it can be a little bit finicky, and some people get fantastic results straight up and other people don't. And it's not necessarily that you've done anything wrong. It's not that there's anything wrong with your yogurt maker. It's not that there's anything wrong with your starter. It's just the nature of this bacteria. And so if it does separate into curds and whey, I know it seems like a waste. You think, oh God, what a waste, especially if you can't even eat it. In our first batch, we couldn't eat that. It was all like stringy bits of stuff that smelled like cheese and just all this whey. And so it seemed like such a waste. And I have told people on my comments, if they're worried about that, make smaller batches initially. So just make a 1 litre batch or a ½ litre batch initially and see how it turns out. But if you're brave like me, you go ahead and make your whole 2 litres at once, and you end up with a whole pile of whey. it can still be used. There's lots of different ways to use whey. So it can be obviously used as a starter for your next batch, and you can store it in the fridge. If you put it into a jar and seal it, put it in the fridge, it'll last for up to 6 months, or you can freeze it. So I actually freeze whey from my yogurts into muffin trays, and I freeze it in the freezer, then take them out and put them into Ziploc bags and put the name of the culture and the date on it, and then I use those as starters in the future. They will last for over a year in the freezer. So absolutely brilliant. But there's lots of other different ways to use whey as well. So you can use whey to ferment vegetables and fruits and berries. I've been experimenting just recently with fermenting blueberries using a Reuteri whey, and it turned out really well. I just left them sitting. I actually did it in my yogurt maker. I was going to leave it sitting on the bench. I actually did it in my yogurt maker and kept it at the 37 degrees Celsius temperature. And I kept it in there for, I think, about 30 hours or so. And then I popped them in the fridge and we ate those over a couple of days. And they were quite nice. They had quite interesting flavour. And so the benefit of fermenting your berries, and if you want to have some fruit and ferment that, is it actually takes out a lot of the sugar out of the fruits and the berries. So if you're not on a carnivore diet like myself and you eat nuts and seeds, you can use whey to soak your nuts and seeds, and that will help to reduce the anti-nutrients and the plant toxins and things that are in those nuts and seeds. And you can use whey in making and sauces and smoothies and mayonnaise, those sorts of things. You can also use it as a meat tenderizer. So if you've got a bit of a tough cut of meat, you can actually soak your meat in the whey, paste it on, leave it to sit for a while, and that helps to tenderize those tougher cuts. Or you can use it for skincare. So someone a cotton ball and put it onto your face. It's really good for your skin, helps to reduce blemishes and adjusts the pH of the skin. The acidic nature of the whey is good for the skin. And you can also use it as a hair rinse, so it's beneficial for the hair and the scalp. And the other thing that you can do if you've got animals is to add it to your pet food, and you're going to just help to boost their health as well, because every animal on the planet is supposed to have Reuteri in its gut, and most of them do. I think it's just us humans mostly that get messed up, but if your animals have been on antibiotics, then the Reuteri is going to help those as well. Alright, so I've got my trusty yogurt maker here, and I'm just going to pull it out of the box. I keep it in the box in my pantry, and I'm going to pull it all out so that I can sterilise my equipment. Now, it is important to sterilise all of your equipment that you're going to use when you're making yogurt. You don't want any competing bacteria in there. You just want that lovely Reuteri in there and nothing else. So what I do is I boil the kettle twice and just sterilise everything with boiling water. And I'll show you exactly how I do that and what I use. I have a cheese thermometer. So this is super important because you need a thermometer to be able to measure the temperature of your milk and get it to the right temperature and keep it there for the time that you want it there. So this thermometer doesn't need to be sterilised, of course, because it's going into the milk. So I'm going to pop it in my milk so that I know where it's at. Okay, now just swap the elements over, because on our stovetop, the large element at the front, for some reason, doesn't seem to turn down. It just stays super hot. So once things come to the boil, then I switch them over. So I've got my thermometer in there, and it's sitting at the moment at 65 degrees Celsius right now. Now I've also have my container that comes with my yogurt maker. So this holds 2 litres, and it is heat proof, so you can put boiling water straight into that. It has a silicone lid which you can also put boiling water into. And then I always get a cup, a metal spoon, and my measuring spoon, which is a tablespoon. I don't think I need that this time, but I'll sterilise it anyway, because I usually use inulin, but this time I'm using this Prebio Plus, which is made by the same people that make the yogurt starter. And so it is actually a mixture of inulin and organic acacia fibre, and then it has fructose sucrose. So I always struggle with that word in it as well. So this has been designed for these cultured dairy products. So it'll be interesting to see whether that makes a difference, because I actually wonder sometimes whether the problems with the Reuteri, whether it is the inulin, because there's some thought that maybe sometimes the inulin is contaminated with other bacteria and needs to be sterilised. I've started telling people that it might be worthwhile putting their inulin into their milk as it's heating, because that way it's being sterilised. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. So I'm just going to open the packet up because I haven't used this at all, and I think it has a scoop in it. So I may not need my tablespoon because I'm usually using 4 tablespoons of inulin. And instead this will be 4 of the scoops of this. Yeah, so it has a scoop in it. I will be using that. And so I'm just going to fill the kettle up and bring it to the boil and sterilise these. Okay, and so here's the second kettle full of water, and I'm just going to fill this right up to the top and overflow it, as I said. So that overflows. Fill the lid up, let that overflow onto the bench. And then this cup with my spoon that I'm going to use, I also fill that up and allow that to overflow as well. So they're all being well sterilised and won't add any additional bacteria into my yogurt. So my milk is sitting at just over 82 degrees Celsius, the timer is on, and so I will be back in just under 15 minutes and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so my milk has been sitting at around 82 degrees for 15 minutes, and I am going to pop that into a sink full of cold water just to cool it down faster. Okay, so as you'll see, I've just popped the whole pot with the bowl of milk into the cold water in my sink. I'll do that initially just to cool down the water in the pot first. Then I'll take it out, refill the sink and put my bowl with the milk directly into the cold water once everything's chilled down a little bit. And now I have my bowl out of my pot. It only takes about 5 minutes or so for the water and everything in the pot to just cool down a bit once you have it in that cold water in the sink. So I'm just going to put some more cold water into the sink, and we're going to put this bowl of milk back in there to cool down. So the milk is currently sitting at about 68 degrees Celsius, and we want to get it down to about 37 degrees, so around about body temperature. I generally tend to ferment my Reuteri and my Algassery around 38 degrees, 37, 38. I do wait, sometimes I do one, sometimes I do the other. But as long as it's around that body temperature, it's fine. And I think from memory, Dr. Davis says in his book that Reuteri actually likes it maybe slightly cooler than Algassery and cooler than Bacillus coagulans, because in the SIBO yogurt, in his original recipe, he uses the 3 bacteria. So he uses Reuteri, Algassery and Bacillus coagulans. And as the Bacillus coagulans, I think that likes it up around 40 degrees or so. But I tend to keep these around body temperature, so around 37 degrees. They're designed to be in our bodies where it's that temperature, so that's what I like. I'm going to go and do something else and leave that to sit and cool down for a while, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are down to about 35 degrees, so I can take that out of the sink, and then I just need to empty my water out of my yogurt container. Get boiling water out of there. I might just need something to hold that because it's still a bit hot. Well, something to be mindful of is when you've emptied boiling water out of here, you don't want to put your starter in here while it's still hot, because if it's still super hot, you're going to kill your bacteria. You need to let this cool down. Don't blow in it because you're going to maybe contaminate it. Alright, so I'm going to add 2 scoopfuls of this prebiotic mix for every litre of milk, so that'll be 4 spoonfuls. And then I'm going to use this spoon to just add some milk into here. I've added about 6 tablespoons of milk, and I'm just going to mix that into a slurry. You want to mix this up well because it does make a difference. Okay, I've mixed that up and putting the milk in has cooled down the bottom of my yogurt container, which is perfect. Now I'm going to open my starter up. These starters are made by Cutting Edge Cocoas. I couldn't think of the name before. And I'm just going to, as I said earlier, I'm just going to pop 1 sachet into this and we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to sprinkle that in. And give it a stir. So this is why you need your sterilised spoons so that you can stir this up at the end. In case you were wondering earlier on, what is the spoon for? This is why. If you want to use a whisk, you need to make sure you sterilise your whisk. I just want to use a spoon. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to pour my milk. Hopefully I can get it in there without making a big mess. And that is it. So now I just pop that into my yogurt maker at 37 or 38 degrees Celsius, 97 degrees, 98 degrees Fahrenheit. And I am going to ferment that for 36 hours. Now this is my Luvele yogurt maker, and as I mentioned earlier, these have been designed for making these yogurts. Luvele used to make yogurt makers, but they adapted them to suit these 36-hour ferments that Dr. Davis has come up with. So I'm going to put some water into there, and then I'm going to put my yogurt in there. Now this yogurt maker has marks in the back here. You won't be able to see in the video, but there are marks in the back here. There's a minimum water level and a maximum water level. So I usually put a bit of water in up to about the minimum, and then I put my yogurt container in there. And then I can top it up a little bit if I want. So I'm just going to pop the lid on, turn it on, and then to set the yogurt maker, all you do is you press temperature, the button here, temperature time. So you can increase and decrease your temperature there. So I just go 37 and then I go push it again, the time comes up. I go backwards, back down to 36. Once it's on 36, confirm, and that's it, done. So it is as simple as that. I will add onto this video and show you what the result is. Wait and see whether this batch of Reuteri turns out or not. Chances are it may be very separated, but we will see. Hopefully not, fingers crossed. But if it is, then I will just make another batch and use the whey from the first batch to make the second, and then carry on from there. So if you're thinking about making Reuteri, I would suggest give it a go. Reuteri has so many benefits. Okay, it's D-Day. The yogurt, the Reuteri, has been fermenting for 36 hours. It actually finished probably about an hour or an hour and a half ago. I did hear it vaguely. I was asleep. I heard it beep. Slept in this morning, so I went to bed a little bit late. But it's ready. Now I haven't had a look at it yet, so I don't know how good or bad it is. I had a couple of sneak peeks while it was fermenting, and it looked like it was doing pretty well, and I couldn't really see lots of whey, and it definitely didn't overflow and do all the weird stuff that it's done before. So fingers crossed. Let's check this out and see what it looks like. Look at that. It looks not too bad for a first batch. You can see that there is some whey in here. You can see it down the bottom. You can see this little bubble here, but it hasn't even split on the top, so that's looking pretty good. Sorry about the shadows, guys, but it's still early morning. We've got the lights on. So yeah, there's definitely whey in there, but there's definitely yogurt as well. So that's how I make Reuteri yogurt from start to finish. Now, as I've said, it can be a little bit finicky. Mine turned out great this time. I'm really pleased with it. It's got a bit of whey in there, but for a first batch, that's probably the best first batch that I've ever had. So
I don't know whether that's down to the starter. As I said when I was making it, I only used 1 sachet of the starter, and I used the cutting edge prebiotic powder rather than the inulin that I had been using. So maybe that made a difference as well, because I just used raw milk and heated it the same as I had been in the past. I'm really pleased with that. If you want to try the Luvele starters, you can use my link below. If you need a yogurt maker, I highly recommend the Luvele yogurt makers. I have a link to those below as well. Fantastic machine and perfect for this. If you have got any comments or questions, put them below as well. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, like and share, of course, with anyone who you think might be interested. I thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again another day. Goodbye for now.